we're going to move on to our patient speaker, and that is Juliana Weninger. The topic of the night is our disability, our needs related to our disability and special accommodations that we should expect can be made for us. We deserve these accommodations in the school and in the workplace. So Juliana's going to talk about her experience with school. Okay? Thank you, Julie.
Bear with me while I figure this out. I'm not very tech savvy. All right. Everybody, okay, good. All right, so accommodations in the school and the workplace. Juliana Weninger. I was diagnosed with EDS 12 years ago, and I have a lot of experience with dealing with schools and getting accommodations. So we're just going to talk about that a little bit. So what we're going to cover: 504s, IEPs, homebound status. What are some reasonable accommodations for a child with EDS, Chiari, fatigue, autonomic dysfunction, all the stuff we have. Pros and cons of virtual school, and accommodations in the workplace, what they're required to do for you. So just some general knowledge. 504s are covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act, and IEPs are Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, so they're different. And IEPs is a federal law that requires students to serve the educational needs to students with disabilities. So an IEP is when the disability is affecting your education and how you're learning, and then the 504 is just for accommodations. And then that just talks about who does what. I'm going to talk about some red flags in an IEP meeting, what you don't want to hear them say and what you should respond with, and student advocates. So 504 plans, like I said, they're for accommodations, and the disability has to be, you need a doctor to say that this disability is affecting your education and affecting your ability to pay attention, attend school, that sort of thing. So the 504, like I said, accommodations, and the IEP will set standards for the student to meet. So it doesn't cover specialized instruction. An IEP will cover specialized instruction, meaning that you can get time with a special education teacher, a resource teacher, those sorts of things. And 504s can be taken with students to college and to the workplace. IEPs cannot. So it really just depends on what your needs are, which ones you want to pick. I just know from my experience, getting the school to give me an IEP was very, very difficult. They don't like to do them because, like a document and a process, it takes a long time. So they don't like to do them if they don't have to. So you have to go through extensive testing. I went through this testing. It was about 3 hours long. They sit you down with a special education teacher. They do tests after test after test after test, and they decide whether an IEP is necessary for you, and then they start setting the goals. And the IEP will include the accommodations, and an IEP meeting will have the teachers, a liaison, key school staff like guidance counselors, the school nurse, the child's parents, and the students. Those should be involved in an IEP meeting Do not let them have an IEP meeting without you there. You need to be there. And then it needs to be set up within 30 calendar days. And you have to meet at least annually to go over this IEP. Doesn't follow college. So what's in an IEP? The present level of your academic functioning and the functional development, and describing how the disability is affecting your ability to learn. Annual goals, and the goals are a collaboration of what parents, teachers, and the school staff are wanting and what's going to be reasonably accomplishable in the school year, because they don't want to set goals that you can't meet. The special education services will be involved, and the child is supposed to participate in district-wide assessments, including testing accommodations. So PT, OT, speech therapy, and assistive technology, these are services that the school can provide. You do need to have a doctor basically prescribe them, and they will come and evaluate to see if you qualify to get PT, OT, speech, or assistive technology in the school place. Assistive technology being things like, a laptop or some sort of stand to hold your book, or a voice recorder so that you can record the lectures and then go back and transcribe later. Those are things that the school can provide so that you don't have to go out and spend your money to buy them. Textbooks on audio, another good thing, so you're not carrying them on your back. Extra set of textbooks in the classroom. Thank you, Mom. Mom's in the audience. So having a textbook in the classroom, having a textbook at home so you're not carrying them to school, around school. It could be stressful on the head, back, neck. You're going like this. This is just a little graphic about an IEP versus a 504. I won't read you the entire thing, but IEP red flags. These are things that get brought up in IEP meetings. Your child is not eligible for special education because he or she is doing fine academically. That is not true. You do qualify because you have a disability and it's affecting your learning. The goals are all written. All you need to do is sign that you approve. Don't let them have this meeting without you. They may set goals that you're not aware of. They may not set something that you need. You need to be there. Don't just sign the paperwork. You should take your child to the doctor and request medication. Schools are technically not allowed to say stuff like this because they are not doctors. They cannot say that, your child needs medication, or your child just, has ADHD. That's a parent-doctor thing. We decided your child no longer needs these services, so we are stopping them. This has to be a collaborative decision. They can't just pull your services. We don't have that service at our school. Yes, they do. We believe your child should be in a self-contained classroom because he or she is difficult to handle. Also not appropriate. That can stop social development, and being with others in the classroom is beneficial. I need to take this to my supervisor to get permission to increase services. They have someone at the meeting who can approve these things. They don't need to run this up a ladder. We are keeping the same goal because he or she has not made progress and we have to keep working on it. Then the goal needs to be modified. If the child's not meeting the goal, then we need to step back and look at, is it an appropriate goal? Is it reasonable? This is a charter school, so we don't have resources to serve a student with special education needs. Also not true. They do have these services. We're not allowed to assess your child for an IEP unless we first try response to intervention. Again, not true. We cannot include your parents' concerns in the IEP because we disagree with what you have written. The parent has to sign off on the IEP. So if the parent doesn't agree with it and they don't sign it, that IEP is not relevant. So it really is a collaborative thing, and our cafeteria is not able to provide a sensory diet. The school, under these 504 laws and accommodation laws, have to help accommodate your child. So homebound status is when you're unable to attend school due to illness, accident, or pregnancy, and mental illness is covered under that homebound status. The school doesn't approve it, the school district approves it. So there's also intermittent homebound status. I feel like this is a good thing for people with EDS, Chiari, all of our related disorders, because, sometimes we're fine, and then sometimes, we're in bed for 2 weeks. And this intermittent homebound status will ensure that you get services and you can still go to school when you can go to school, but if you can't, then you'll get your time. And the time is you get 1 hour with an instructor for each day that you miss, in case anybody didn't know. So reasonable accommodations for someone. So priority seating. When you think about it, what are you doing at school all day? Going like this. Looking up at the board and then down at your paper, up at the board, down at your paper. So priority seating to find a seat where you can either, get your paper propped up, or, if they allow you to use a laptop, typing at your laptop so that, you can see the board without having to do this all day. Laptop, again, reduces the hand pain, joint pain, dislocations. Test taking accommodations, whether you need to take it alone, you need more time. Using a pen versus pencil. I know they have those pen again things, that's what they're called, and those are good for people with EDS. Not having to use a Scantron document and being able to mark right on the test, because you're doing this with your head and up and down, and it messes with the Chiari. Just being able to circle the answers on the test, that's a reasonable accommodation. Shortened school day, this can be accommodated, especially those high school level kids. And if they can drive, that's also a good thing. So the shortened school day would allow them to come and go as they choose. Like I said, high school students, that's better, because otherwise parents are just going to be running your kids all over the place. So another accommodation that I received was bypassing the nurse's office. What happens whenever, you're in high school and you go to the nurse's office 2 to 3 times a week to go home? The nurse says, "You don't look sick," or "You have a headache again? Do you really need to go home for that?" It's just, it's demeaning. It's inappropriate. It's not their decision to make. So being able to bypass the nurse's office to go home without having any sort of documentation is helpful. High school students, this is not a get out of jail free card. Don't abuse it. Extra time for assignments. You don't know when you're going to be sick. You don't know when you're going to be down. Hospital, surgery. You don't feel good. You need to go home, take medicine. Extra time. Again, don't abuse it. Those assignments, you keep pushing them off, and then before you know it, you have a huge backlog of assignments due, and that can just increase anxiety and stress, which we know can increase pain. Allowing the student to wear braces, ring splints, collars, etc. in class. This seems like, common sense, but I wore silver ring splints to school one time, and a teacher thought they were brass knuckles. So, had to put it in the IEP. And, instructors can get confused, when, half the class you're wearing a brace, half the class you're not, you're fidgeting with it. One day you have a neck brace, the next day you're fine. And they're just, they don't know. So, having it in the IEP is just, or the 504, just protection. Extra time to change classes while in school. High school students who are, weaving in and out of large buildings, having that extra time so you can avoid injury, trying to get there quickly, or being shoved by the masses of people. I know the schools here are very large. Having an elevator pass, because I know that sometimes they're like, you don't have crutches, you can't use the elevator. Bathroom privileges. I know we all have EDS bladders, or the majority of us have EDS bladders that can stretch and stretch and stretch. This increases the chance of a UTI, a kidney infection. You'll miss more school. So being able to go to the bathroom whenever you need to, neurogenic bladder, that's an issue with Chiari. So being able to go to the bathroom and not having, that one bathroom pass a day. Virtual school. I'll be honest, I don't really know a whole lot about it. I did some schooling online but it was through the high school, and their classes were then on a program called Apex. I don't know if any of my Wanda students out here know that, but I mean, the pros is, you can work at your own pace, and it allows for less misinstruction. So you can go to doctor's appointments, whatever. Teaches you time management skills, because you've got to do it, and you've got to have the discipline to sit down and do it. Cons, it's more self-instruction. You're not going to get as much help, and it completely eliminates the social interaction of school. So I know that I did a lot of my high school from home, and when I went to college, like, everyone else's social level was up here and mine was like down here. So I had to, readjust and learn how to be a social person and talk to people. Accommodations in the workplace are covered by the ADA. There's 3 areas where they're supposed to cover, so that you have adjustments to the job application so that you can be considered for the position. So let's say that you can't type on a computer for some reason, and the job application is on the computer. They have to be able to provide you with another form of applying for that job. Modifications to the physical work environment so that you can do the job. So say you're standing at a cash register, is it appropriate to allow you to sit at the cash register so that you can complete the functions of that job? And equal benefits to all what the other employees receive. Let's say that there's a break room, but it's up 3 flights of stairs or something like that. They have to be able to provide you with either another space to take a break or a way to get up there. I don't think that they're going to build you an elevator, but I could be wrong. And these were my sources, and hopefully that was helpful to some of my students out here. I know it's very hard, very, very hard to be a student and to have a disability. And you get weird looks from the instructors, you get weird looks from other students, you get the whispers, why does she get more time? Why does she get to come and go as she wants so she's not sick? I know how hard it is, and I know how isolating it is. My recommendation to you would just be to keep going, keep persevering. You will get through it. I did basically 8th grade through 12th grade on intermittent homebound and was able to graduate on time. You'll get through it. Yeah, I promise.